Fans, this is John Denton with Cardinals Corner with John Denton. Oops, what just happened? Just lost the background there, but that's all right. We'll keep going. This is John Denton with Cardinal Corner, presented by Sideline Sports and Entertainment Network. Well, the Cardinals have made it through the trade deadline. They played two games in New York City, had a rough weekend in Toronto, lost two of three in Toronto, and then had a wild, crazy game on Monday night and lost last night. Um, let's go back to Monday night's game. That was one of the wildest games of the season, no doubt about it. I mean, the Cardinals led that game 6-0. They ripped Cam Schlittler, the favorite to win the Cy Young Award in the American League. They ripped him for 6 runs. Looked like they were going to cruise to an easy breezy win. Next thing you know, the Cardinals bullpen, Michael McGreevy gave up a home run. Then the bullpen gave up 4 home runs, and the Cardinals found themselves down 7-6. But then, just when they thought they were dead, you thought the offense has been bad for weeks now. The Cardinals erupted for 7 runs in that eighth inning. They had 3 home runs in that inning. Alec Burleson, the guy whose name was bandied about in the trade deadline rumors, the Cardinals ended up hanging on to him, and wisely so. Alec Burleson hit 3 2-run home runs in the game against the Yankees. Cardinals came from behind and won 13-7. Burleson had 3 2-run home runs, 6 RBI. He was the 25th player in franchise history to hit 3 home runs in a game, and he was the first since Ivan Herrera back in 2025. So big night. And then last night, Jordan Walker was out of the lineup with irritation in his right knee, which is a little bit concerning, especially the way he's been swinging the bat of late. Alec Burleson was given the night off, which I still find hard to believe. Unless that was a night off scheduled long in advance, I'm still trying to figure out why you take a guy out. Yes, they were facing a lefty. Yes, Ryan Weathers is a really good lefty, and Burleson's had his trouble against lefties this season, but one of his 3 home runs on Monday night was against a left-hander. So clearly he was seeing the ball well on Monday night. I would have started him. He should have started on Tuesday. That ended up being a 2-0 loss. Burleson did get a pinch hit late in the game. The Yankees walked him to load the bases. Hunter Dobbins pitched well. Hunter Dobbins is finally going to be a full-time pitcher in the rotation now that Dustin May has been traded away. So Hunter Dobbins, he only had 79 pitches through 6 innings. That tells you how efficient he was. Dobbins gave up 4 hits, but the problem was 2 of them were solo home runs. Jazz Chisholm Jr. got him for a solo home run, and then George Lombard Jr. making his major league debut. First hit of his career was a home run off of Dobbins. You would think that just giving up those 2 runs, the old saying is solo home runs don't beat you, but it did last night. The Cardinals had chances in the 6th inning, 7th inning, 8th inning, runners in scoring position, but they were 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. They stranded 7 runners, so it was just one of those nights where they didn't have much offense. Their 2 best weapons were not in the lineup. Hunter Dobbins deserved better. He pitched well enough to win that game, but it just, wasn't to be on, tonight. You didn't expect them to score 13 runs the way they did a couple nights earlier, but they just couldn't push across the runs that they needed last night. Let's get into the trade deadline and discuss what the Cardinals pulled off. As expected, Chaim Bloom stuck to his guns. He said he's not going to go for the quick fix, not going for the sugar high. He is building this thing for the long term. And, rightly so. He traded off 2 future free agents for young kids who are filled with promise, but, they're not going to be in St. Louis until 2029, 2030 maybe. They're still a long way away. Let's go through the trades. The Cardinals traded Dustin May and JoJo Romero. That was expected by everyone. Both of those players are going to be free agents at the end of the season. May has been an up and down season for May. His last outing with the Cardinals was actually a good one. He pitched 5 shutout innings against the Cubs. I think he only allowed 2 hits. Didn't strike out many. Ended up throwing his sweeper as much as he did his fastball. So that was his last outing. So the Cardinals pulled him after 70 pitches. So it was pretty much clear to everybody that they would be trading him away before the deadline. And then Jojo Romero. Jojo Romero has been one of this team's best relievers over the last 4 years. He's especially good against left-handers. JoJo has struggled a little bit this season. He hasn't been nearly as effective against left-handers, but it makes sense for a Milwaukee team to go get JoJo Romero. If you're going to have to face Bryce Harper and Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani and some of those big left-handed bats in the playoffs, you better go get the left-handed relievers out of the bullpen. And if JoJo Romero can get back to what he's done the previous 3 seasons, he will be a big weapon helping the Brewers down the stretch. Now, what the Cardinals got in return, it tells you a lot when the word out of Milwaukee is fans were upset. Fans were upset that the Cardinals got Alexander Frias, an 18-year-old. He's 6'2", a lot of pop in his bat. I mean, you can see the projectables now. The ball jumps off his bat. He was ranked number 11 in the Milwaukee system, which may sound odd to some, but Milwaukee has the best minor league system in all of baseball. I know the Baseball America had him in the top 4 prospects in the Arizona Complex League. He tore it up out there. He hit like 430 out there. He got promoted to single A, and he's played well since then. Like I said, he's 18 years old. Will we see him in 28, 29? He's a far away project, but he looks to be a guy that has a ton of potential. I mean, the Brewers signed him to a $350,000 signing bonus. They have a history of finding players out of the Dominican Republic. This kid seems like if he can stay on the path he's on now, he's got superstar potential written all over him. But again, it's going to be 2 years, 3 years before Cardinal fans see him in St. Louis. Now, the second player acquired in that was Josiah Ragsdale. He's much further along in his career. He's 22 years old. He started his college career at Iona, transferred to Boston College. He has had a great season. He started the season at low A, or started the season at high A, and then got promoted to double A Biloxi. He has had an incredible season so far. He has 1 home run away. I think he has 21 doubles, 19 home runs, and 31 stolen bases in his 2 stops so far. So Ragsdale is a guy who hits it a long way. He can run, good defensively. He was ranked number 13 in the Brewers system. But again, the Brewers have the best system in baseball. They have 5 top 100 players. So if you're in the top 15 in the Brewers system, you're a legitimate prospect, and you can project these guys out that they're going to be major league players. Ragsdale's high-end potential is probably not as high as Frias, but again, he's 22 years old. This is a guy that you could see in the big leagues maybe at the end of next season, maybe in 2029. But they're going to have to wait on Frias, and then Ragsdale, again, is 22 years old. The other trade the Cardinals made, they sent fan favorite, longtime Cardinal Lars Nootbaar to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Nootbaar's been with the Cardinals since 2018. 8th round pick, kind of defied the odds. He's a fun-loving guy. Everybody loves Lars Nootbaar. He's good in the clubhouse. He's good in the dugout. He's a good, solid player. The thing that got Lars in trouble, the promise and the potential were always there, but the production really didn't kind of match up to it. You would see his exit velocities and his hard hit rates. Those numbers were with some of the best players in baseball, but the production didn't seem to go along with it. Lars issued a touching video the Cardinals put out before he left the Yankee Stadium the other night, thanking the Cardinal fans for believing in him, always supporting him. So Lars is a class act. In return, they got Daniel Egan, who pitched at Presbyterian College in college. Big strikeout numbers, big 6'4", 215 guy. And then they got Sando Santana, a small guy, but he throws really hard. He's a guy that the Cardinals checked in on when they were doing the Nolan Arenado trade, but now they're able to land him. And they also get a player to be named later. So that's the four young players that the Cardinals got back. They'll eventually get a fifth one. They did make a move to get another left-hander, Caleb Ferguson. He pitched last night in Yankee Stadium, pitched well. But so that's the haul for the Cardinals. Again, Cardinal fans, you're going to have to be patient. Did the Cardinals get promising prospects? Yes. Are they going to be anywhere in St. Louis anytime soon? Probably not this year. I mean, definitely not this year. Probably not next year, and it may be 2029 before you see any of these players. But we're about to bring on a guy, Daniel Guerrero, Cardinals beat writer for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. He knows plenty about prospects with the Cardinals. He's written about prospects for the past 5 years with the Cardinals. Again, this is Cardinal Corner with John Denton, presented by Sideline Sports and Entertainment. Waiting to bring up Daniel. There's Daniel. There's my man D Dog.
Hey,
He's
what's
gone.
up?
Daniel Guerrero, baseball writer for the St. Louis Post Dispatch, has gone international on us. He just got back from Toronto. Daniel, what was your take on Toronto as a city? How'd you like the Canadians? Were they as nice as they are said to be?
Yeah, well, first off, John, thanks for inviting me. Always a pleasure to catch up and talk baseball with you. But yeah, Toronto was definitely a very cool city. One of my best friends in the world, Carter Chapley, who covers FC Cincinnati, is worked with the Post Dispatch is from Toronto and told me all the places to go, and he did not let me down. It was definitely a lovely city. I mean, it was a really nice time. I had never been to Canada, and definitely would like to go back at some point.
Yeah, I tell people all the time that Toronto is a lot like New York City, except it's safe and clean. I love how nice they are there and that sort of thing. Daniel, what was the clubhouse like? You were in the clubhouse for those 3 days in Toronto leading up to the
Mhm.
deadline. How tense was it? How worried? Could you get a sense of how worried guys were? Because Alec Burleson, Ivan Herrera, Mason Wynn, a lot of those guys, their names were bandied about in trade rumors.
I don't know, or I wouldn't really say tense is the right word. I feel like the youth of this clubhouse and the understanding of the clubhouse kind of allowed some of the main trade deadline candidates to kind of just be themselves and allowed that clubhouse to just be itself. Um, I think even when you remember seeing Dustin May walk out to do his pregame field work and joked with some of the people sitting down on the dugout bench that, hey, he's still here. And that I think kind of encapsulates a little bit of what that vibe was like inside that clubhouse where guys knew the direction of the club, everybody has an understanding of it. Obviously there are some guys who uh, are on the expiring deals who kind of have it, or who are a little bit more veteran who know what's going on. Even Lars Nootbaar, whose deal isn't doesn't expire this winter, also has an understanding of the value he has and the direction the Cardinals are heading in. But I think overall with the guys we saw dealt and some of the guys who were the big names uh, of those veteran pieces, I mean, everybody just kind of went as business as usual, and guys were still pretty loose uh, in those few days. I mean, obviously there were some names who were a little bit younger, like Alec Burrows and Devon Herrera, who surfaced in trade rumors. But I mean, still, you kind of saw just the natural sort of young, I guess, exuberant Cardinals clubhouse that we've seen all season.
Yeah, Daniel, we know how good JoJo Romero can be against lefties. How big of a pickup can that be for the Brewers? I mean, you may have to face Bryce Harper in the
Mm,
playoffs. You may
mm.
have to face Shohei and Freddie Freeman, some of the best big left-handed hitters in the National League. How good of a pickup can that be for the Brewers?
Yeah, definitely. And then we saw the Brewers last year try to mix and match against the Dodgers in the NLCS, right? Where I mean, the reality of it, it was just kind of an overmatched series for Milwaukee, even though they were the best team in the regular season. Um, but you looked at the way they tried to use an opener, try to get to the bullpen, and it just wasn't enough to slow down the Dodgers. So they add JoJo Romero, who has a ton of experience pitching in high leverage spots, uh, and he's a guy who uh, really has solidified the Cardinals back into the bullpen since he ascended into that role in 2023 when Ryan Helsley was out with an injury. And he also has a pretty his voice carries a lot of weight. I mean, he's somebody who gets along with everybody in the clubhouse, somebody who has a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge in the game, and he joins the Brewers, right? So for Cardinals fans, it might be tough to see Jojo Romero pitching in the eighth inning of Game
Yeah.
6 of a playoff series, or Game 4 of a winner take all or do or die playoff series, and but he's a guy who the Brewers and Pratt Murphy are definitely going to call on for those lefty lane that we saw him take on with the Cardinals. Now, we might see him come in to face 2 or 3 guys, and 2 or 3 of those guys are Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah. Yeah. You're watching Cardinal Corner with John Denton. We're here with Daniel Guerrero, baseball writer at St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Daniel, will you be there in 2030 when Alexander Frias makes his major league debut for the Cardinals? Will you plan on covering that game? And what do you think about the young minor league haul that the Cardinals got in those 2 trades?
Well, I guess to steal a phrase from some of the guys who were asked about the trade deadline, obviously there are things that are out of my control. Just joking, but I mean, when you look at Alexander Frias and the rest of the Cardinals haul for the trade deadline, Frias is probably the centerpiece player in the mix of them, and it's a teenage bat outfielder who profiles as a right fielder, strong throwing arm, a lot of raw power, possibly the plus power potential, and is really just kind of getting going in his professional career. So, I mean, as you mentioned, this is a guy who it's going to take some time for the Cardinals to see develop, and that's not anything new. I mean, we've seen example in the system. We've seen Joshua Baez develop, and that one had some twists and turns before we've seen what he's blossomed into this season. Leo Bernal is another guy who came in as a teenager, and we've kind of watched him grow. And Alexander Frias, who wasn't acquired initially by the Cardinals because he was signed by the Brewers as an international free agent signing, but he's a guy who it's going to take some time for him to progress up the lineup, but a guy who you can kind of look at and be like, okay, this can be a really big piece to what the Cardinals are going to look like, 3 or 4 years from now.
Yeah. Daniel, did you enjoy? Now it's social media, so take it with a grain of salt. But there were people in Milwaukee who were very upset that the Cardinals gave up 2, or the Brewers gave up 2 legitimate prospects that you can almost project them out as big time power hitters, 5-tool guys. 2 really good prospects that were rising through their system. Was that kind of funny to see the Brewers fans upset that they gave up those players to a Cardinal team that's building a heck of a minor league system right now?
Yeah, naturally. I mean, if you're a Brewers fan and you see a couple of guys, especially guys who have been on the upswing, I would say, because you look at the years that both of them have had and the trajectory. I mean, they're both playing up pretty well. But yeah, you give up a couple of strong prospects to a division rival, and one who not just any division rival, but the team that has kind of reigned over that division over the years. I mean, obviously that I would imagine that does upset you a little bit, because you're like, man, like in a few years, if these guys are hitting homers or playing well against us, that's going to sting. But I mean, you have to give up something to get something, right? And the Brewers are in this spot where you definitely need some help, you need some reinforcement. So they're a good team, but obviously, if you add some depth, you add some players who can help in the short term. If it works out for them, then I would still be kind of confused if Brewers fans are upset if we're sitting here in November and they're World Series champions with help from Jojo Romero and Dustin May. But obviously, if it doesn't work out and the moves come back to haunt you, it does sting a little. But I mean, this is part of what it takes to chase a championship. You need to take risks and see if they work out.
Yeah, if you have to give up your 11th and 13th prospects to win a World Series, I think that would be well worth it. Daniel, how would you sum up Lars Nootbaar's time in the Cardinal organization? I mean, he's a guy, if you look at his exit velocities and his hard hit rates, they're right up there with some of the best players in the league, but the production didn't always match that. I mean, we all know he's a great guy. Everybody loved him in the clubhouse and the dugout. How would you sum up his time with the Cardinals? He's been around since 2018.
Yeah, I think you look at the Lars Nootbaar era with the St. Louis Cardinals, and I think fun might be really the right word that comes to mind. I think maybe there is a little bit of, I don't want to say frustration, but just a little bit of like of a letdown because, like you said, we didn't really see Lars Newbar blossom like we all thought he, or we'll still think he can. I mean, in reality, I
Hmm.
mean, the metrics are still there, but I think a lot of fun. Definitely a fan favorite. Somebody who was always a pleasure to talk to as a member of the media, as you know. I mean, Lars is a guy who always had a great attitude and
Hmm.
always liked to joke around and just have some fun. Um, but yeah, when you look at some of the on-field stuff, you do kind of wish that maybe we saw it last a little bit longer. That
Hmm.
and obviously he's still young. He's going to go to a team that's in contention, and he's going to be able to show his skills there. Um, but yeah, but you look at the hard hit rate, you look at the chase rate, the whiff rate, the walk rate. Um, you look at even now after he had the bilateral heel surgery over the winter. You look at what he's able to do in terms of like mobility wise and being able to play without feeling in that constant pain that bugged him over the last few years.
Hmm.
Um, he's a guy who, at one point we looked at, maybe this is the guy that takes the reins over in center field. And
Hmm.
just unfortunately, it was just a string of injuries that kind of held him back. And but definitely a guy who you can envision having success in the future. Um, Obviously, it didn't get to that point with the Cardinals that sustained sort of long, run of just him being, that constant threat in the lineup. Obviously, like any baseball player, you have some highs and lows, but the injuries held him back a little bit. But now, he's able to turn the page and join a new organization and have that chance to really dazzle and show the player he can be.
And he's got his best buddy Nolan
Yeah.
Arenado right there by his side, so that's going to make Lars. Got to make Lars happy. Daniel, you were on scene at Rogers Center for Quinn Matthews' major league debut the other day. What did you think about how he pitched, how he handled the nerves, how he handled the sellout crowd, and were you surprised at all that it was a one and done that he got optioned back to Memphis afterwards?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I'll start with just the nature of the transaction. I think the goal or the hope was for him to be able to pitch again at the majors. Obviously there was a lot that was going to change after the deadline. If Dustin May was traded, if JoJo was traded, if they need to add somebody to bring up reinforcements into the bullpen because they're down a player or an arm short there. I think we'll see him up here. I mean, obviously there's always a need for arms. There's always a need to kind of get guys looks at the majors, and he's one of them who I think we can end up seeing having another look here in the majors. So I wouldn't put too much stock into sending him out like that. I mean, obviously because there's just a roster crunch and a need for sort of the short term. But when you think about the start that he had, I mean, against the team that I mean, the Blue Jays are one of the toughest teams to strike out in the majors, if not. I mean, I think it was they're second behind. They're second in the majors in fewest strikeouts, and the
Mm-hmm.
margin, the difference between the leader in the league was only by an innings worth of strikeouts, really. Um,
Yeah.
and doesn't get a whole lot of strikeouts, but you saw some of the whiff with the fastball and the breaking
Mm-hmm.
ball. You saw him in the way he navigated against the right-handed bats, whether that be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or that be George Springer, Kazuma Okamoto, and I thought he handled himself well. And Ollie
Mm-hmm.
Marmol touched on that of just him being able to not get sped up in innings. There were a couple innings there where it could have spiraled, right, where there's guys on base and he has to. I mean, the third inning, right, bases loaded, Alejandro
Mm-hmm.
Kirk up to bat, one of the toughest players to strike out in the majors, and he gets out of it. So I
Yeah.
think it was definitely a solid showing for a guy who has really gained some momentum here in the second half.
Yeah, yeah. If the Cardinals, Kyle Leahy's approaching a career high in innings, you wonder if they might cut him back. McGreevy's the same way, approaching a career high in innings. You hope you get to see Matthews back again. He's too smart, too talented. I think he'll get another shot before the end of the season. But I know they want to give Dobbins some run now, and he pitched well in New York last night.
Mhm.
Again, this is Cardinal Corner with John Denton. We have Daniel Guerrero, baseball writer at the St. Louis Post Dispatch. Daniel, are you ready for some rapid fire quick answer questions? We're down to about our last 5 minutes.
Oh man, I
All
don't know. I'm not ready, but let's
right.
go to it.
You're not ready. All right, poutine in Toronto. Did you try it, and what were your thoughts? Gravy
I
and French
tried it.
fries.
I was a man. I thought it was fine. I think I don't know if the Canadian gravy is a little different than traditional like what we have for Thanksgiving gravy. or
Yeah.
when I go to KFC and get a bucket of chicken and gravy. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Uh-huh. Okay. A little cheese curds action in there too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and then always a fan of fries.
Cardinal season, is it a success already, or are you disappointed with how the second half has gone? You know, the bats have really kind of disappeared since the All Star break.
Mhm.
Um, is it already? Some people say it's already a success because this was supposed to be rebuilded. It was supposed to be a terrible season. Is it already a success, or is it kind of disappointing the way this second half has gone?
I think you can look at it as a success given the current state of the franchise and the direction that they've been clear about this being a rebuild. Obviously, you have three first-time All Stars. You had a winning first half. You had a sell-off at the deadline, but I mean, this is one of the things that we knew we're kind of heading towards. Um, the way the offense is going, obviously, you want to see it pick up a little bit more. We saw it on Monday night pick up, and then it kind of went back to sleep Tuesday. But I think when you look at the season as a whole, and this being the first really true step in terms of building back forward to being a perennial contender, I mean, you have to look at it and say there have been a lot of strong moments this year.
All right, Daniel. Worried or not worried about Jordan Walker? He was out last night with right knee irritation. I think he's hitting 247 since the home run derby. 17 of his 21 hits are singles. Does not have a home run since July 9th. Is Daniel Guerrero worried or not worried about Jordan Walker?
I'm not worried or not too worried. I mean, this is a guy who we've seen make massive strides uh, offensively and even defensively. I mean, we've seen him pick up his game a ton and become an all star. So I wouldn't put too worried. I think maybe this. I think more intriguing, I guess, at this point because like this is like really his first prolonged stretch like this year, and I'm kind of eager to see how he, obviously barring the knee issue, how he comes out and hits the way out of this thing.
True or false? The home run derby curse is real or fake?
Oh,
Is it real?
I think it's false. I mean, I don't have the exact. No, I think it's false. I don't have the exact numbers to back it up, but I mean, I think if we looked across the league in the last few years, I think it would be maybe have a guy who goes into a slump, but overall, I think it's fine.
Here's a crazy hypothetical for you. Tanner Franklin and Ty Pete just got promoted to to Double A Springfield. I think Springfield has 12 of the top 30 prospects in the Cardinals organization. If Springfield and the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals, played a 7-game series, how many games could Springfield win? How about that for a
Oh,
hypothetical?
that's an interesting hypothetical, and I mean the gap. I mean, no matter how a team is playing in the majors, as good or as bad. I mean the gap between the double A and triple A is big, and the gap between double A and the majors is massive. So I mean, it would be interesting to see how some of those, whether it's Tanner Franklin or Liam Doyle, um, or it's Ty Pete, how
uh-huh.
they go up against big league hitters and pitchers.
better
So
come better
yeah.
Better comeback story in 2026, Jordan Walker or Andre Palante? Because we saw
Man, both have
Palante at the
been
end of the year.
yeah. I mean, both have been really good comeback stories. Man, if you had to pick one that's better, I mean, I just think I mean, no disrespect to Andre, I think he's had a fantastic year, and a really strong comeback season. But I think just becoming a first-time All-Star, winning the home run derby, becoming more of a national name for Jordan Walker. I mean, I think uh, that is that it feels like a pretty cinematic, really like tale of this season so far.
Favorite Cardinal to interview and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I've been asked this before too, but there's so many guys, um, not just within the clubhouse, but within the system that are just fantastic human beings. I mean, it's tough to choose one. Um, I will say though, I mean, as if I had to pick one, and I would go with Michael McGreevy just because we've had a lot of time talking together, going back to when he was in high A. We're both from Orange County. We're both Charger fans, so we can kind of wallow in the pain of being Charger fans. Max Regic's also a Charger fan, so but we haven't really
Uh-huh.
gotten into the weeds there. But
Uh-huh.
I would say in terms of guys that I feel like I have a lot of common interest in Michael McGreevy, and talking to him. I mean, and every now and then he'll give me some. Uh, I don't know what words I can use on here, but he'll give me some grief about
Uh-huh. Yeah.
about a question or whatever, and then we'll kind of joke about it after. So it's all in good fun. So
Yeah.
I would say him just in terms of the overlapping interest.
I'm glad you brought up the Charger thing. I was going to bring that up if you didn't say it. You guys commiserate together, fellow Charger
Yeah.
fans commiserating. Well, Daniel, thanks for being here today. Thanks for joining. This is Cardinal Corner with John Denton, presented by Sideline Sports and Entertainment. Like having Daniel here. Get used to him. I hope to have him back several times this season. He really knows what he's doing. Go read his stuff at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Anyway, thanks, Cardinal fans. Andre Palante against Will Wade tonight. Cardinals against Yankees later to come. Thanks, fans.